When the Hazbin Hotel pilot came out in 2019, I remember enjoying it quite a lot. The setting was interesting, the animation was nice to look at, and the characters were all a delight, my favorite being Angel Dust. He fit the stereotype from most of my other favorite characters perfectly, so it wasn't a surprise. When I heard earlier this year that Hazbin Hotel had been picked up by A24 and Amazon Prime, I was pretty excited to see where the story would go, and pretty confident that Angel Dust would stay firmly in place as my favorite character. So imagine my surprise when I am completely blindsided by a different character that is not prominently in the pilot and only appears within 2 episodes of the season. I am, of course, talking about the big boss of hell itself, Lucifer. Ever since the show has come out, I have been obsessed with this little man. This can be attributed to many things, such as his pleasing character design, or the fact that he's voiced by the legend himself, Jeremy Jordan.
It was more than any love.
But mostly, I think the reason he's wormed his way into my heart is his characterization and writing. I adore how they have constructed this character, and I can't stand keeping all the thoughts rattling inside my head, so I have instead decided to spit them all out here.
How come he can have faith in me, but my own father can't?
While watching the series, Lucifer is built up as a neglectful father, and the king of all hell. This, plus the Lucifer shown through other media, builds an idea in our head. By the time we are ready to meet him in episode 5, we are expecting an imposing figure, someone threatening, a demon worthy of the title of King of Hell. And at first, we are given that. Through a dark room, we see only Lucifer's back, and he seems up to something. He talks menacingly in low tones, and we're ready to see this vicious and callous King of Hell that Charlie is so scared of calling. These expectations, of course, are all shattered when Lucifer turns around and extends a rubber duck in his hand. This Lucifer is not imposing. He's not threatening. Instead, he's surrounded by rubber duckies, and throughout his entire first scene is honestly more pathetic than anything. This is a brilliant subversion of expectations, as it immediately hooks the watcher in. How is this Lucifer? How did he get here? How is this the King of Hell? And what the hell is with the ducks? When he struggles with the basic task of answering Charlie on the phone, we get the idea that he has not been in the fatherly role for a very long time. But why? The flashback we get in this episode is wonderful because it shows us a few things. It shows us that there was a time that they were closer, and through the use of Lilith's figure, we are also shown that the rift between them is not something either of them wanted or willed into happening. Perhaps the most important thing we learn, though, is that Charlie's sense of hope, her great big dreams that she desperately wants to accomplish, she learns all of that through Lucifer. This gives us insight into how much Charlie looks up to her father, and how much it must hurt that they aren't close anymore, as well as the connection between Lucifer and Charlie. They're both dreamers. When it comes to Lilith's role in the flashback, I'm hesitant to say that this was 100% meant to convey Lilith taking Charlie away from Lucifer deliberately like many others are, or whether her figure was just used as a means of metaphor for their rift. However, when it comes to the continuation of the limited contact, I am more willing to point the blame at Lucifer and his depression.
Take that, depression!
A big way Lucifer's depression manifests is his sort of hermit lifestyle. He obviously wants to reconnect with Charlie. We can see this from the way he reacts when she invites him over.
You're inviting me over?
But Charlie earlier in the episode says that he rarely ever calls her. He doesn't make the effort to reach out to her. He's unwilling to connect or open himself up to anyone, to step outside of the palace or even his own workshop. He's trapped himself in his own torturous isolation. The National Institute of Mental Health does list isolation as a symptom of depression, and the National Library of Medicine states that those with depression can use isolation as a sort of self-induced coping mechanism, as well as that isolation can be a driving factor of depression, and that many organizations recommend those with depression to connect with others. So not only is Lucifer's isolation a symptom of his depression, but it also makes his depression worse, causing this awful spiral that he just can't get out of. The National Institute of Mental Health also lists difficulty remembering and concentrating as a symptom of depression.
Where are you these days?
You know where I am, Dad. I've told you before.
You have? Well, that certainly is something.
So, what do you think?
About what?
The hotel.
Oh, yes.
While I don't doubt that it's possible Lucifer is just a scatterbrain by nature, I also don't doubt that his depression could be making his memory and concentration a lot worse, putting a strain on his relationship with Charlie in the process. I'll touch on this more later, but as soon as Lucifer steps into the hotel, he is overcompensating hard. And this is because he's insecure with his position as a father. He doesn't believe he's been a good father to Charlie, and let's be honest, he hasn't. And so he's trying so hard to overcompensate for that, not realizing that what he's doing is pushing Charlie further away. Because this is not what she wants. What she wants is a father who's going to support her dreams and help her get out of the current slump she's in. Instead, what she gets is this boisterous, loud man, barely hiding the fact he's 1 second away from a panic attack, dragging her around the hotel performing a Genie friend-like-me-esque song, talking about all the things he can give her. Everything except a meeting with heaven, conveniently. And you can tell from Charlie's face that she is uncomfortable with this display. This is not what she signed up for when she called him over here. This is not what she wants. It's only later in the episode, when Charlie expresses just how much she wants and needs his support, does Lucifer start to open up fully on why he doesn't want to give her the meeting with heaven. He's afraid for her. He's lost everything he has cherished so far in his life. His dreams, his home, his wife, and he's absolutely terrified to lose Charlie too. He's traumatized from his previous interactions with heaven, and he desperately wants to protect and shield Charlie from that, not realizing that what he's doing is caging her from her potential. However, through the song more than anything, he sees how much Charlie's dream means to her, and how much he is limiting her by trying to protect her so severely. He comes to understand that he needs to let Charlie have the opportunity to let her spread her own wings and fly herself. This is shown beautifully through the visuals of the song, where he literally throws Charlie through the air to allow the spotlight to shine on her. And so he gets Charlie the meeting with heaven, giving her what she really wanted all along, which is a supportive father.
Alistair, you gotta warn a girl when she's in mixed company.
Charmed, I'm sure.
Lucifer is a bad king. This is easy to see from the fact that he literally does not do anything with his kingly status. From the introduction, it's shown that Lilith was the one who took charge of ruling things in hell. And now that she's gone, it doesn't seem Lucifer has done much of anything to step up and take her place. And the answer as to why is very simple. Lucifer doesn't want to be king of hell. This is yet another subversion when it comes to the typical Lucifer that we see, who would enjoy ruling over hell and the power that comes with it. This is a Lucifer who wants nothing to do with hell. Something I really appreciate about Lucifer's backstory within Hazbin Hotel is this line right here.
Heaven cast Lucifer and his love into the dark pit he had created, never allowing him to see the good that came from humanity, only the cruel and the wicked.
This is such an important piece of Lucifer's character. His dreams and ambitions stem from giving humanity free will, but by being casted down into hell, he is cursed to never truly be able to see the fruits of his labor. The only humans he sees are the worst of the worst, abusers, murderers, cannibals, the worst of the worst that can only do the worst because he gave them the ability to. He gave them the free will to choose their own destiny, and this is what they've decided to do with it. Any awful decision they make is on him. Every murder is only possible because of what he did. They're a constant reminder of one of his biggest failures. And then he's expected to rule over them. Lucifer doesn't want to rule over sinners. They are a monument to his mistakes. He doesn't want to rule over hell. It's his very own personal prison. Lucifer's understanding of this is, of course, short-sighted. Sure, his free will allowed people to be awful, but it also allowed people to be, well, whatever they wanted to be. There is still a heaven filled with winners, people who took his free will and did great things with it. But that's the devastating part of all this. He can't ever see that. By being surrounded by only those who use his free will for evil, he struggles to acknowledge the many that use his free will for good. He fails to see both sides of the coin, the possibilities his free will gave, including the possibility of using it to atone and to change. This in turn makes him not believe in Charlie's dreams of redemption. Lucifer's disdain for hell and sinners is visible even within his character design. The entirety of the Pride Ring is largely associated with reds and blacks. Contrast this with Lucifer, who, with exception with some trimming here and there, largely dons the whitest white available. He's pristine in comparison to his surroundings. It gives the impression that he's desperately clinging on to his former angelic status as much as he can. He boasts about his
Pure angelic power!
With the exception of his sharp teeth, he doesn't look hellish. There's no horns, no pointy tail. He's not the red devil he can oftentimes be depicted as. He's trying to separate himself from hell, and he's largely successful on that front. When we meet Lucifer, he's a complete shut-in. We're not given a time frame for how long he's been a hermit, but some theorize this only started 7 years ago when Lilith disappeared. But I'm inclined to say it's been longer than that. I mean, Lucifer is completely unaware of who Aleister is, despite Aleister being a very well-known name in Hell, one of the most feared overlords. And Aleister has also been missing for a while. His peak in popularity was over 7 years ago, before he also disappeared. This leads me to believe Lucifer has been checked out of the going-ons in Hell for quite a while. I wouldn't be surprised if he wasn't familiar with almost any of the overlords, with maybe exception to Zestial, considering how old he is. He has no connections to the politics of Hell. I've seen some complaints on various social media platforms regarding Lucifer's status, and how it doesn't make sense how aloof characters other than Charlie are regarding him. He's the king of Hell and way more powerful than anyone else we have met, and yet no one is cowering in fear. In fact, they're giving him the bare minimum of royal respect, sometimes even less than that. I argue, however, that this makes perfect sense. The Pride Ring is a lawless land. People gain respect and authority through power plays and deals. Lucifer has absolutely no interest in either of these things. He never wanted power, and he never wanted to rule, so he has no interest or need to assert his dominance. Of course, the knowledge of who he is and his power keeps others from messing with him in any real capacity, but it does not necessitate any immediate fear of his presence or respect for his royalty.
Well, your first wife didn't seem to hate what I had to offer. For the second.
In the Helliverse, the shared universe of Hazbin Hotel and Helluva Boss, the 7 deadly sins each represent a sin, and reign over their own personal ring of hell. Lucifer, as well as being the overall king, is also the sin of pride and reigns over the pride ring. I think Hazbin Hotel does a fantastic job with showing Lucifer to be the sin of pride. The song of Hell's Greatest Dad alone is enough to show this. It utterly reeks of pride. Lucifer spends his entire first verse boasting about how great and magnificent he is.
5-star! Flawless! Great!
His large pride is also shown by how easy it is to hurt that pride. When Aleister and Lucifer first meet, they clash hard, and Aleister immediately knows just how to get on his nerves, picking at his pride and ego by going after his height, his status, and his relationship with Charlie. This gets Lucifer very angry very quickly. A big pride means a bigger target to hit. We can also see in the final episode his boastfulness through his showboating with Adam.
I gotta say, you really let yourself go, buddy.
He doesn't need to be mouthing off to him. He's way more powerful than Adam and could defeat him easily, but he knows this, and he decides to play around with him. He brags about getting with Lilith, and is generally just a prideful little bastard. And while it is easy to show pride in a character, something I'm grateful for is them also showing Lucifer's immense shame, because as the greatest man in our time has said,
"Pride is not the opposite of shame, but its source. True humility is the only antidote to shame."
As I mentioned earlier, Lucifer is overcompensating a lot, and he does this to cover up his shame and insecurity. The character of Lucifer in a lot of depictions is a very large dreamer, and this is no exception in Hazbin Hotel. He had large dreams, and they were all completely crushed. This causes his depression, and it also causes his shame. He's ashamed that he was cast out of heaven. He's ashamed of what has become of his gift of free will. He's ashamed he's not a good father. He's ashamed of what he's been doing all these years. So he takes all that shame, and he tries to push it down by overcompensating, by being boisterous and loud and trying to show Charlie that he can be a good dad. But it doesn't work because that's not what she wants. And we can see that wall of overcompensation almost deflate from his body and more than anything, and the shame be pushed to the forefront. He opens up about his failures in the past and how that's affected his outlook now. And we realize that he's been projecting that shame onto Charlie. The whole reason Charlie has big dreams and this hope is because of Lucifer. And I think Lucifer is aware of that, and it scares him. He sees himself in Charlie, and he doesn't like it. Because of that shame, that self-hatred inside of him, he doesn't want Charlie to go down the same path he did. He doesn't want Charlie's dreams to be crushed. And I think the reason he's so scared, is so protective over Charlie, is because as the sin of pride, the thing he's most proud of is Charlie. He is so proud of Charlie. And knowing how much he's failed Charlie in the past, he's trying to catch up on all of it now, going into basically overprotective dad mode. But it's too late for that. He needs to be supportive now, and lift Charlie up in the world, instead of protecting her from it. We've seen the other deadly sins in Helluva Boss, and how they sometimes can subvert expectations to what people think the deadly sins should be, and this carries over to Lucifer. Because while yes, he does have that front of ego and confidence, there's also that pervasive shame and insecurity that we might not expect from the sin of pride. But it's because of him being and having that pride that he can also have the massive amounts of shame he carries. And I think that's just a really poignant way to show the different facets that come with pride.
You can do this. Now I know it. For your story is just begun.
At the end of season 1, we see the newly renovated hotel, and we can spot a room in the shape of an apple. This has many speculating that Lucifer could be around a lot more in season 2. If that is the case, I have a whole wish list of what I hope is done with his character. One of the biggest things I want for Lucifer's character is for him to truly come around on sinners in redemption. He mentions in the finale song that Charlie has changed his mind, but I like to see some true character development of him getting closer to sinners and realizing that they're not as one-dimensional as he had them pegged to be, that there is a chance for redemption, and that his free will can help with that it wasn't a waste. I'd love an interaction between Lucifer and Angel Dust.
Hey, you short king.
It'd be really, really funny, but I think it'd also have the opportunity to be really sweet as well. Or an interaction between Lucifer and Husk. I can picture a scene in my mind of Lucifer at the bar just rambling about his woes to Husk, and Husk not having any of it at all. And through interactions like that and coming around on sinners, he can work on reconnecting with hell and the people of hell, and maybe even become a better king in the process. Maybe meet more overlords, become more connected with the politics of hell. And with that, there could be the opportunity for healing, to get rid of that built-up shame inside of him, the shame of gifting free will, the shame of being a bad king, and through helping with the hotel, the shame of being a bad father. To get Lucifer his own version of redemption for himself. Putting himself out there again for the first time in a while, and connecting with his people and building his skills as a true king and ruler, could really help him and his deep-seated trauma that he's never really been able to fully unpack and heal from. It could also help him with his depression. Obviously not completely heal it or anything, because that's not how depression works, but certainly a step in the right direction to getting control over his life again. He can flex his creative skills by helping out with the hotel and become the dreamer he was again, side by side with his daughter. By the end of the series, I hope Lucifer is more confident in himself and his abilities. I hope he's a better king and a true ruler to his people, and I hope he has a loving and more stable relationship with Charlie. Seeing Lucifer truly come into his own and pick himself back up after what happened all that time ago would be a satisfying and fulfilling character arc. I absolutely adored Lucifer in season 1, and I can't wait to see what's next for him. I hope you enjoyed my rambling and walk away from this video with a bit more appreciation for Lucifer as a character. Thanks for watching.